Everyone wants to win in public, but very few are willing to build in private. We live in a world that celebrates noise, quick success, instant results, visible achievements. But what if the real power is not in what people see, but in what you do when no one is watching? There are seasons where your growth feels invisible. No applause, no recognition, just quiet discipline, silent prayers, and daily choices that no one else understands. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like nothing is happening. But what if those silent moments are where your strongest self is being built? Because the truth is, God does His deepest work in private. He shapes your character in silence, strengthens your spirit in silence, strengthens your spirit in hidden places, and prepares you long before He reveals you. So don't be discouraged if your journey feels quiet right now. You are not behind. You are being built. Now ask yourself honestly, are you willing to stay consistent even when no one is watching? Drop your answer in the comments and share what silent habit you're working on right now. Share what silent habit you're working on right now. Your story might inspire someone to keep going. There is a kind of growth that does not make noise. It does not announce itself. It does not announce itself. It does not seek attention or validation. It happens quietly, beneath the surface, in moments when no one is watching and no one is applauding, and yet it is the most powerful kind of growth you will ever experience. Because what is built in silence is often what lasts in public. Many people want visible success, but they do not understand the value of invisible preparation. They want recognition without development. They want results without discipline. But the truth is, anything that is truly strong must first be built in private. Luke 16:10 says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." That means the unseen moments matter. The small decisions matter. The quiet discipline matters. Because those are the moments where your foundation is formed. And if your foundation is formed, and if your foundation is weak, no amount of public success will sustain you. So if you want to build yourself in a way that is strong, lasting, and aligned with God's purpose, you must learn to embrace silent growth. You must become comfortable with progress that no one sees, with discipline that no one applauds, with consistency that no one recognizes. With consistency that no one recognizes. Because God does not reward what is seen. He rewards what is seen. He rewards what is faithful. Matthew 6:4 says, "Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." Notice that. What is done in secret, that is where your real life is built. That is where your character is shaped. That is where your strength is developed. And there are principles, rules that guide this kind of silent growth. Not rules meant to restrict you, but rules meant to refine you. Rules that align your life with purpose. Rules that protect your progress. Rules that protect your progress. Rules that position you for what God has prepared for you. The first rule is this: learn to discipline your mind, because everything begins in your mind. Because everything begins in your mind. Your thoughts shape your actions. Your beliefs influence your decisions. And if your mind is not disciplined, your life will not be directed. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Renewing your mind is not a one-time event. It is a daily process. It is choosing what you allow to influence your thinking. It is rejecting negativity, doubt, and fear. It is replacing them with truth, with faith, with clarity. Because if you allow your mind to be filled with distraction and confusion, your actions will reflect that. But when your mind is focused, disciplined, and aligned with God's word, your life begins to move with intention. And this work happens silently. No one sees your thoughts. No one hears your internal battles. But those battles determine everything. So you must guard your mind, protect it, train it, because a strong life begins with a strong mind. The second rule is this: master your words, because words have power. They create, they influence, they shape reality. And many people delay their own growth because they speak carelessly. They complain. They doubt. They speak negatively about their own future. But Proverbs 18:20, one says, the tongue has the power of life and death. That means your words are not neutral. They are either building or destroying. And if you want to build yourself, you must speak life, even when situations are difficult, even when progress feels slow, even when nothing seems to be changing. Because your words reinforce your mindset. They strengthen your belief and they align your life with what you are speaking. But mastering your words also means knowing when to be silent. Not everything needs to be said. Not every thought needs to be expressed. Sometimes silence protects your growth. It protects your peace. It protects your peace. It protects what God is doing in your life. Ecclesiastes 3-7 reminds us there is a time to be silent and a time to speak. And wisdom is knowing the difference. The third rule is this: develop discipline in your actions, because intention without action produces nothing. You can have vision, you can have goals, you can have dreams, but without consistent action, none of those things will become reality. And discipline is what sustains action over time. Galatians 6-9 says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. 2, at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That harvest requires consistency. It requires showing up when you do not feel like it. It requires doing what needs to be done, even when motivation is low. Because motivation is temporary, but discipline is reliable, and discipline is built in private. It is built in the moments when you choose to do the right thing, even when no one is watching. It is built in consistency, in repetition, in commitment. And over time, that discipline creates results. The fourth rule is this: protect your environment, because your environment influences your growth more than you realize. The people around you, the conversations you engage in, the content you consume, all of it shapes your mindset, your perspective, your direction. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. That means who you surround yourself with matters, because people influence you. They affect your thinking. They impact your decisions. And if you are constantly in environments that do not align with your purpose, your growth will be limited. So you must be intentional. You must choose environments that support your development, that encourage your faith, that challenge you to grow. And sometimes that means creating distance, not out of pride, but out of purpose, because you cannot build something strong while constantly being surrounded by what weakens you. The fifth rule is this: build your relationship with God above everything else, because without Him, nothing you build will last. You can develop discipline, you can improve your mindset, you can surround yourself with the right people, but if your life is not aligned with God, it will lack true purpose. True purpose. Matthew 6:33 says, but seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Seek first, not second, not after everything else. First, because when God is your priority, everything else aligns. Your decisions become clearer, your direction becomes stronger, your purpose becomes defined, and your growth becomes meaningful. Because it is not just about building success, it is about building a life that reflects God. And that kind of life is built in silence, in prayer, in obedience, in moments where you choose God over comfort, where you choose discipline over distraction, where you choose purpose over approval. And those choices, repeated consistently, begin to shape you. They begin to transform you, not overnight, but over time, because real growth is not instant. It is gradual. It is consistent. It is intentional. And it is often unseen. But just because it is unseen does not mean it is not happening. Just because others do not recognize it does not mean it is not valuable, because God sees it. He sees your effort, your discipline, your commitment, your faithfulness, and He honors it, even when no one else does. So do not rush the process. Do not seek validation for what should be developed in silence. Do not expose what God is still building within you, because when the time is right, what you have built in private will become visible. Not through words, but through results, through character, through consistency. And that kind of growth cannot be faked, it cannot be rushed, it cannot be replaced, because it is real, it is deep, it is lasting, and it is rooted in something greater than yourself. So commit to the process, embrace the silence, stay consistent in the unseen, because your life is being built. Even now, and even in this very moment, there are parts of you being shaped that you may not fully recognize yet, because growth does not always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like comfort, stretching, like being pulled in directions you did not expect, and that discomfort can tempt you to stop, to go back to what is familiar, to choose ease over development. But what is familiar is not always what is necessary for your future. And if you keep choosing comfort over growth, you will delay what God is trying to build within you, because growth requires stretching. It requires leaving behind habits that once felt normal. It requires letting go of patterns that no longer serve your purpose. It requires stepping into a version of yourself that may feel unfamiliar at first, but that unfamiliar space is where transformation begins. Because God is not trying to keep you where you are. He is trying to elevate you, to refine you, to prepare you for something greater than your current understanding. And that preparation will often feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary, because comfort rarely produces change. It maintains what already exists. But growth requires movement. It requires adjustment. It requires a willingness to become something more. And that process happens quietly. It happens in your daily choices, in your routines, in the way you respond to situations, in your routines, in the way you respond to situations, in your routines, in the way you respond to situations, in the discipline you maintain when no one is watching, because it is easy to be consistent when people are observing you, when there is accountability, when there is recognition. But true discipline is revealed in private, when no one is there to encourage you, when no one is there to remind you, when it is just you and your commitment. And those moments matter more than you realize, because they reveal your true character. They show whether you are building for appearance or for purpose. And building for purpose requires integrity. It requires doing what is right even when it is difficult. Even when it is difficult. Even when it is inconvenient, even when it does not bring immediate results. Because purpose is no T driven by temporary outcomes. It is driven by long-term vision. And that vision must be strong enough to keep you going when progress feels slow. Because there will be days when you question whether what you are doing is working. Days when you feel like your efforts are not producing visible change. Days when you feel unnoticed, unrecognized, and even overlooked. But those are the moments where your faith must remain steady, because not all growth is immediately visible. Just like a seed planted in the ground, there is a period where nothing seems to be happening above the surface. But beneath the surface, something powerful is taking place. Roots are forming. Strength is developing. A foundation is being established. And without that foundation, the growth above the surface would not be able to stand. So do not underestimate the unseen season. Do not rush the process just because you cannot see immediate results. Because what God is building in you is deeper than what people will eventually see. And depth matters. Because shallow growth may appear impressive for a moment, but it cannot withstand pressure. But deep growth, the kind that is built in silence, in discipline, in faith, that kind of growth is stable, it is resilient, it lasts. So tayo, it is resilient, it lasts. Colossians 2-7 says, let your roots grow down into Him, and let your lives be built on Him. Roots grow in hidden places. They are not visible. They do not receive attention. But they are not visible. They do not receive attention. But they are essential, because they determine how strong the structure above will be. And in the same way, your private discipline, your quiet obedience, your unseen consistency, those are your roots. And the stronger your roots, the stronger your life will be. Another thing you must understand about building yourself silently is that not everyone needs access to your process. Not everyone needs to know what you are working on. Not everyone needs to hear your plans, because premature exposure can sometimes weaken your focus. Because premature exposure can sometimes weaken your focus. It can invite unnecessary opinions. It can bring distractions that pull you away from what God is doing within you. Even Jesus often withdrew to quiet places. Luke 5:16 says, "But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." He understood the value of stepping away, of disconnecting from noise, of spending time in quiet preparation. And if he needed that, how much more do you? Because noise can be distracting. Constant input can cloud your thinking. And if you are always surrounded by opinions, by comparisons, by external voices, it becomes difficult to hear God clearly. So you must create space. Space to think, space to think. Space to pray, space to reflect, space to grow. Because in that space, clarity comes, direction becomes clearer, and your connection with God becomes stronger. And that connection is what sustains your growth. Because without it, you may build something that looks good externally, but lacks true purpose internally. But when your growth is rooted in God, it carries meaning, it carries direction, it carries alignment. And alignment is what ensures that what you are building is not just successful, but significant. Because success without purpose can feel empty. But purpose gives fulfillment. It gives meaning to your effort. Self gives meaning to your effort. It gives direction to your actions. And it ensures that what you are building has eternal value. So as you continue to grow, continue to build, continue to develop yourself in silence. Remember this, the process is just as important as the outcome. Do not rush it. Do not skip steps. Do not try to present a version of yourself that has not yet been fully developed. Because what is rushed will not last. But what is built with patience, discipline, and faith will stand. Even when challenges come. Then when pressure increases. Even when life tests what you have built. Because it has been developed the right way. With intention, with consistency, with God at the center. And that is what makes the difference. Because at the end of the day, it is not about how quickly you grow. It is about how well you are built. It is about the strength of your foundation, the depth of your character, the consistency of your discipline, and the alignment of your life with God's purpose. And all of that is formed in silence, in the unseen moments, in the quiet decisions, in the daily commitment to become better than you were yesterday. And as you remain faithful in those moments, as you continue to build, to grow, to develop yourself without needing recognition, you are becoming someone stronger, wiser, more prepared. And what is ahead will require a version of you that is not easily shaken by pressure, distraction, or opinion. Because as you grow, as you elevate, as you begin to step into greater responsibility and purpose, there will be new challenges that come with it. New levels bring new expectations. New opportunities bring new reputations. New opportunities bring new tests. And if you are not prepared internally, externally, you may struggle to sustain what you have been given. That is why this silent building matters so much. Because it prepares you for what you cannot yet see. It equips you for responsibilities you have not yet encountered. It strengthens you for moments that will require more from you than where you are right now. And preparation is often uncomfortable because it stretches you beyond your current capacity. It forces you to grow in areas you may have ignored before. It confronts habits, mindsets, and behaviors that need to change. But that confrontation is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to refine you, because God is not just interested in giving you some. Because God is not just interested in giving you some, even you. He is interested in making you new, in transforming the way you think, the way you respond, the way you live. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here. That transformation does not happen instantly in your daily behavior. It is a process a daily decision to align your actions with your new identity, to let go of old patterns, to embrace new disciplines, to become more intentional in how you live. And that intentional living is what sets you apart, because many people drift through life without direction. They react instead of respond, they follow instead of lead, they settle instead of grow, instead of lead. They settle instead of grow. But when you are building yourself intentionally, silently, with discipline and purpose, your life begins to reflect something different. It reflects clarity, focus, direction, because you are no longer moving randomly, you're moving with intention. You are building with purpose. You are aligning your life with something greater than temporary satisfaction. And that alignment creates stability, because when your life is aligned with God's purpose, you are not easily distracted by things that do not matter. You are not easily pulled away by temporary desires. You are not easily influenced by external pressure, because you know who you are. You know where you are going, and you know what matters. That clarity protects you. It guards your time. It protects your energy. It helps you make decisions that align with your purpose. And decision making is one of the most important aspects of growth, because your life is shaped by the decisions you make daily. Small decisions, quiet decisions, decisions that no one else may even notice. But those decisions accumulate. They create patterns, and those patterns create results. So if you want to build yourself, you must become intentional about your choices, what you say yes to, what you say no to, where you invest your time, where you place your focus. Because every choice is building something, either strengthening your future or weakening it. And when you understand that, you begin to take your daily actions more seriously. You begin to realize that growth is not just about big moments. It is about consistency in small ones. It is about showing up daily, even when you do not feel like it, even when it feels repetitive, even when it feels unnoticed. Because repetition builds mastery, and mastery requires time. It requires patience. It requires commitment. But the results of that commitment are powerful, because over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural. What once required effort becomes habit. What once felt unfamiliar becomes part of who you are. And that is transformation, not just doing something differently, but becoming someone different, someone who is disciplined, someone who is focused, someone who is grounded in faith. And that kind of person does not need constant validation. Someone who is grounded in faith, and that kind of person does not need constant validation, because their confidence comes from within, from their relationship with God, from their consistency, from their commitment to growth. And that confidence allows you to move differently, to think differently, to respond differently, because you are no longer seeking approval. You are living with purpose, and purpose changes everything. It gives meaning to your effort. It gives direction to your actions. It gives clarity to your decisions. And it keeps you grounded when life becomes uncertain, because even in uncertainty, you know that your life is not random. It is guided. It is intentional. It is part of something greater than what you can see right now. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." That means your life has direction. It has purpose. It has intention. But walking in that purpose requires preparation. It requires growth. It requires becoming the person who can carry that future. And that is what you are doing right now. Even if it does not feel like it, even if it does not look like it, even if it does not look like it, even if no one else recognizes it, you are building, you are growing, you are becoming. And that process is valuable, because one day the things you are developing in silence will become visible. Your discipline will show. Your consistency will show. Your consistency will show. Your character will show. And people may look at your life and think it happened suddenly. They may think it came easily. They may not see the process behind it. But you will know. You will know the early mornings, the quiet decisions, the sacrifices, the moments when you chose growth over comfort, when you chose discipline over distraction, when you chose faith over fear. And those choices will have built something within you that cannot be taken away, because it was not given to you It was developed in you, and what is developed in you and what is developed within you is more valuable than anything external because it stays with you. It shapes you. It defines how you handle everything that comes next. So keep building, keep growing, keep developing yourself in silence, even when it feels slow, even when it feels unnoticed, even when it feels difficult, because this process is not wasted. It is preparing you. It is strengthening you. It is aligning you with something greater than where you are right now. And as you continue to remain faithful in this process, as you continue to trust God, to discipline yourself, to protect your growth, and to stay consistent, you are stepping closer and closer to the life you were created to live. And that life is not something you stumble into by accident. It is something you grow into by intention, step by step, choice by choice, day by day, because destiny is not built in a moment. It is revealed through consistent obedience over time, and obedience is not always easy. Sometimes it requires you to do what feels uncomfortable, to walk away from things you once enjoyed, to say no when everything around you says yes, to stay committed when others give up. But obedience is powerful because it aligns your life with God's direction. And when your life is aligned, you move with clarity, you move with purpose, you move with confidence that what you are doing is not random, but intentional. And that confidence gives you peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you know you are walking in the right direction. And direction matters more than speed, because you can move fast in the wrong direction and still end up lost. But when you are moving in the right direction, even slow progress is meaningful. Even small steps are valuable. Even quiet growth is powerful. So do not compare your journey to others. Do not measure your progress by what you see in someone else's life, because comparison will distract you from your assignment. It will make you feel behind when you're exactly where you need to be. It will make you rush a process that requires patience. Galatians 6-4 says, each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone, without comparing themselves to someone else. Without comparing themselves to someone else. Your path is unique. Your timing is different. Your timing is different. Your process is specific to what God is building in you. And when you understand that, you begin to focus more on your own growth, your own discipline, your own consistency. Because that is what you can control. That is what you are responsible for. And as you take responsibility for your growth, something begins to change. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop depending on external encouragement. You begin to build internal drive. A commitment that is not based on how you feel, but on what you know. You know where you are going. You know what you are building. You know who you are becoming. And that knowledge keeps you steady. It keeps you moving forward. Even when it is hard, even when it is slow, even when it feels like no one else understands your journey. Because not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will understand your discipline. Not everyone will understand why you are choosing to step back, to focus, to grow in private. But you are not building for their understanding. You are building for your purpose. And purpose requires sacrifice. It requires focus. It requires the ability to stay committed even when others do not see what you see. Because vision is personal. God gives it to you. He plants it in your heart. And it is your responsibility to nurture it, to protect it, to develop it, until the time comes for it to be revealed. Until the time comes for it to be revealed. Habakkuk 2-3 says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it linger. Wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. There is an appointed time, a moment where everything begins to come together, where what you have been building in silence begins to show. But until that time, your responsibility is to remain faithful, to keep building, to keep growing, to keep trusting God in the process. Because this is not just believing in the outcome, it is trusting the process that leads to it. And when you trust that process, you stop becoming frustrated with where. You begin to see value in it, you begin to appreciate the lessons, the growth, the transformation, because you understand that every stage has a purpose. Every moment has meaning, and every step is leading somewhere, so keep going. Keep building in silence. So keep going, keep building in silence. Keep developing your mind, your habits, your faith. Keep choosing discipline when it is difficult. Keep choosing purpose over comfort. Because what you are building right now, in the quiet, in the unseen, in the unnoticed moments, is becoming the foundation for everything that is about to unfold in your life. And so, as you continue on this journey, understand this one powerful truth. The life you desire is not built in noise. It is built in silence. It is built in the moments no one applauds, in the discipline no one sees, in the sacrifices no one recognizes. Because that is where real transformation happens. That is where character is formed. That is where strength is developed. You may not see immediate results. You may not receive instant validation. You may not receive instant validation. You may feel like your progress is invisible. But do not be discouraged by what is unseen, because God sees it all. Every effort, every choice, every moment you chose growth over comfort, faith over fear, and discipline over distraction. And He honors what is done in secret. So stay committed, stay focused, stay faithful to the process. Do not rush what God is building. Do not expose what is still being developed. Do not compare your journey to anyone else. Do not compare your journey to anyone else, because what God is doing in your life is unique, intentional, and perfectly timed. And one day what you have built in silence will speak for itself. Your strength will be evident. Your discipline will. It'll be visible. Your character will stand out, and people will see the result, but they will never fully understand the process behind it. But you will know the quiet battles you fought, the choices you made when no one was watching, the faith you held on to when it was difficult. And that is what will make your success meaningful. Because it will not just be something you achieved, it will be someone you became. So keep building, keep growing, keep trusting God in the unseen, because the silence you are in right now is not empty. It is preparation for something greater than you can imagine. It is preparation for something greater than you can imagine.